You're thinking about buying in Chicago this year. The real opportunity isn't a neighborhood, it's a transit corridor. Most buyers chase trendy zip codes. Smart buyers follow infrastructure because trains don't move, hype does.
Don't believe the hype, people!
When markets shift, whether inventory rises, affordability tightens, or demand cools, corridors anchored by durable transit access tend to hold value better than isolated hot blocks. Today, I'm breaking down four Chicago transit corridors that I believe are quietly undervalued right now based on pricing gaps, walkability, density signals, and development pressure. Some are stable long term holds, one carries serious upside with volatility, and one I think buyers are misunderstanding completely. I'll rank them at the end and tell you which one I would personally buy along right now. Let's start with that first corridor. When I look at the blue line stretch between Belmont and Addison, what immediately stands out is its positioning, just north of Logan Square, which means you're still anchored to one of the strongest transit spines in the city, but often at a noticeable price discount compared to the station just a few stops south. Buyers priced out of core Logan frequently move north while staying on the same exact train line. And that creates spillover insulation because demand doesn't disappear when it shifts slightly up the corridor. You still have direct access to downtown, and you still have direct access to O'Hare, and that airport connection alone strengthens long term rental durability and resale appeal. Now let's zoom in a bit more specifically because micro location matters here. The streets closest to the stations tend to hold value more consistently than properties deeper into purely residential pockets, especially for car light buyers who want a true 5 to 7 minute walk to transit. That makes sense. When you compare entry level condo pricing here to peak Logan Square, that gap can represent meaningful savings. But what matters more is how you deploy that savings. Are you buying a newer mid rise with higher assessments, or are you targeting a well maintained 2 or 3 flat building with lower overhead? That decision matters to your long term return profile. This quarter also behaves differently across market cycles. When rates rise, affordability sensitive buyers migrate north from Logan because price per square foot becomes more important than brand name neighborhood recognition. That migration tends to support pricing here. Now, here's the nuance. This stretch has already appreciated over the last cycle. So I wouldn't call it early stage upside. I'd call it more in the lines of balance upside. Strong infrastructure protected, but not a speculative bet. If I were to be buying here personally, I would focus on solid building fundamentals, reasonable assessments, and proximity within a few blocks of the station rather than stretching for aesthetic upgrades. That's how you win long term in this corridor. The brown line stretch between Kedzie and Francisco operates differently because it benefits from adjacency to Lincoln Square, which carries established retail, strong walkability, and durable buyer demand across multiple demographics. This quarter tends to demonstrate pricing stability because its buyer pool is deeper and more diverse. Couples, small families, long term residents, rather than the purely trend driven demand. But here's where it gets more strategic. And this is a corridor where buyer persona really matters. If you're planning to hold for 7 to 10 years and value predictability over volatility, this quarter is perfect. If you're trying to force appreciation in short 2 or 3 year window, you may feel underwhelmed. From a resale standpoint, condos here tend to move in more predictable patterns because demand isn't driven by hype cycles. Building type also matters here. Vintage courtyards, buildings, and well-managed small associations often perform differently than newer mid-rise inventory. And buyers who understand HOA reserves and assessment structures tend to outperform over time. Now, during softer markets, this quarter historically sees less dramatic price swings because school perception, retail density, and transit reliability anchor demand. Appreciation here is often steady rather than explosive. And for many buyers, that consistency is preferable to volatility. Now, if I would rank safety and long-term hold strength, this corridor right here, this Francisco Kedzie Brown Line corridor, consistency scores high because of infrastructure, demographic depth, and neighborhood identity are all aligned in a way that supports durable value. Hey,
Hi.
before we move on to the next corridor, if you're interested in Chicago urbanism, transit-based buying strategy, and neighborhood-level market analysis like this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I break down transit corridors, density shifts, and real estate strategy every week from an infrastructure-first perspective. If you want to position yourself intelligently in this market and stay ahead of pricing cycles, subscribing ensures you don't miss the next breakdown. Now, let's go look at the third corridor. The red line stretch between Thorndale and Jarvis near the lake offers one of the more compelling arbitrage plays on this list because you're getting lakefront proximity and strong transit frequency at a noticeable pricing discount compared to Lakeview or Lincoln Park. You still get lakefront trail access, grocery density, bus connectivity, and realistic car-free viability, but without paying premium lakefront pricing further south. Now let's talk nuance because this corridor is building specific. Two properties on the same block can perform very differently based on association health, reserve funding, and deferred maintenance exposure. That means this is a corridor where due diligence matters more than location alone. Buyer type also matters. Value-seeking professionals and relocation buyers priced out of Lakeview often see this stretch as an entry point to lakefront living. But appreciation here can be uneven if you overpay for views or ignore building fundamentals. In rising markets, this arbitrage often closes faster. In softer markets, weaker buildings underperform. So this is not buy anything and win territory, it's selective. If I were buying here, I would prioritize financial stability of the association and proximity to both transit and lakefront access, rather than purely cosmetic upgrades. That's where long-term positioning improves. If you're relocating to Chicago or thinking about upgrading along one of these corridors, this is where having a strategy matters. Transit-based buying isn't just about being near a station. It's about pricing cycles, building quality, development timing, and your personal risk tolerance. If you'd like help mapping out your goals to the right corridor, there is a link below to schedule a one-on-one real estate consult. Just look below, it's in the pinned comment. We'll build a plan around infrastructure and timing so you're making a smart long-term decision rather than reacting emotionally to headlines. Also, if you want to look up in the upper corner, I have a QR code. So if you're on your TV, go ahead and snap that. Now, let's look at the final corridor. The Green Line corridor between Ashland and California represents the highest upside and highest volatility of the four because of its pricing arbitrage relative to nearby West Loop and Fulton Market. Infrastructure access is strong and development pressure is visible. Long-term transit-oriented development potential is meaningful, but this corridor behaves differently across cycles. When capital flows aggressively into emerging areas, appreciation can accelerate quickly here. When capital pulls back, volatility increases. That's why timeline matters. If you're buying with a short-term horizon, this corridor may feel aggressive. If you're thinking more long-term, right? 8 to 10 years, you may benefit from early cycle positioning. Micro-location matters heavily here. Proximity to station nodes, retail growth pockets, and planned developments can significantly influence resale strength. Buyer mistakes in this quarter often involve underestimating policy and zoning risk, so paying attention to development pipelines becomes part of your strategy. This is a quarter where you buy intentionally, not emotionally. And if your risk tolerance is moderate to high and your timeline is long, this quarter can outperform. If you need predictability, it may feel uncomfortable, and that distinction is critical. So if I were to rank these from safest to most speculative, safest long-term hold, Brown Line Kedzie to Francisco, balanced upside, Blue Line Belmont to Addison, selective value play, Red Line Thorndale to Jarvis, and most speculative with highest upside, Green Line Ashland to California. Transit corridors drive durable demand because infrastructure anchors long-term value. When markets shift, infrastructure protects pricing. If you're serious about relocating to Chicago or positioning yourself strategically along one of these corridors, schedule a real estate consult with me below. Again, in the pinned comment, I have a link. We'll align your budget, timeline, and lifestyle goals with the right infrastructure so you're buying strategically, not emotionally. That's how you win long term in Chicago real estate.